Picture this. Michael Gove, the political equivalent of a Swiss Army knife, sharp, useful, but occasionally dangerous in the wrong hands, has just delivered what might be the most brutal character assassination in Westminster since Brutus had a chat with Caesar. And his target? None other than Nigel Farage, the man who's made a career out of being perpetually angry about Europe and everything else. But here's the twist that'll make your political popcorn taste even better. Gove's assessment is so devastating, so perfectly crafted, that it might just force Farage to reconsider his entire political future. Welcome back to UK Pancakes, where we serve up political drama hotter than a Sunday roast argument. Today, we're diving into Michael Gove's masterclass in political demolition and why his complimentary takedown of Nigel Farage might be the beginning of the end for Reform UK's march to number 10. Now, before we get into the juicy bits, let's set the scene. Farage has been strutting around Westminster like he owns a place ever since Reform's local election success in May, where they grabbed 676 seats and control of 10 councils. He's been telling anyone who will listen that Reform is now the main opposition to Labour. Bold claim from a man whose party still has fewer MPs than you can count on two hands. But let's not let facts get in the way of a good narrative, shall we? But then along comes Michael Gove, armed with a kind of intellectual precision that could cut glass and twice as sharp. In an upcoming interview with the Politics Inside Out podcast, Gove delivers what can only be described as a political equivalent of damning with faint praise. It's like watching a master surgeon perform an operation with a butter knife, technically impressive, but absolutely brutal to witness. Here's where Gove's genius really shines through. He starts by praising Farage's communication skills, calling him intuitive and acknowledging his ability to tap into how parts of the country think. It's like saying someone's really good at starting fires before mentioning they are terrible at putting them out. The setup is perfect, the compliment genuine, and then comes a knockout punch that leaves Farage's prime ministerial ambitions looking like a deflated balloon at a children's party gone wrong. I don't believe that he is a plausible prime minister. Gove states with a kind of casual brutality that only comes from decades of Westminster warfare. But he doesn't stop there. Oh no, that would be far too merciful. He continues, if at this stage you're saying that Reform should be the government, he doesn't have a team or the policies or program that would make me believe that he would govern effectively. It's like watching someone methodically dismantle a house of cards while explaining exactly why each card was placed incorrectly in the first place. Now, this is where things get particularly spicy. Gove isn't just some random backbench MP throwing shade for the fun of it. This is a man who served as a cabinet minister for years, someone who's seen the machinery of government up close and personal. When he says Farage doesn't have what it takes, he's not speaking from partisan bias. He's speaking from experience. It's like Gordon Ramsay telling you your soufflé won't rise. You might not like hearing it, but the man knows his stuff. But wait, it gets better. Gove then delivers what might be the most elegantly crafted political insult of the decade. He explains that Reform's success isn't because they develop a compelling story about how the country can be different, but because they're the repository of anger at the failure of the political classes. In other words, Reform isn't succeeding because they're good. They're succeeding because everyone else has been terrible. It's like being told you're only popular because all the other kids at school have nits. The timing of this assessment couldn't be more perfect, or more damaging for Farage. Just as Reform was riding high on their local election success and positioning themselves as the future of British politics, along comes Gove with a reality check that hits harder than a Manchester United defeat in the Champions League final. The message is clear. Enjoying protest votes doesn't make you ready for prime time. And here's where Gove's political intelligence really shows. He reveals that Farage was personally grateful to him when he helped resolve an issue between the then UKIP leader and the Times newspaper. It's a small detail, but it serves a crucial purpose. It establishes that Gove isn't speaking from ignorance or malice, but from actual personal interaction. He knows Farage. His help Farage, and that makes his assessment all the more credible and therefore devastating. The phrase very powerfully ambivalent is pure Gove. It's a kind of intellectual precision that makes you reach for a dictionary while simultaneously admiring the craftsmanship. He's not dismissing Farage entirely, but is also not endorsing him. It's political commentary with the subtlety of a Michelin-starred meal and the impact of a sledgehammer to the solar plexus. But perhaps the most intriguing part of Gove's assessment is his observation that Farage serves as a bulwark against greater extremism. This is political chess at its finest, acknowledging Farage's role in the political ecosystem while simultaneously limiting his potential. It's like saying someone's useful as a scarecrow, but you wouldn't want them running the farm. This assessment gains even more weight when you consider Farage's recent high-profile spat with Elon Musk over Tommy Robinson, when the world's richest man, who happens to be working closely with Donald Trump, couldn't pressure Farage into endorsing a far-right activist. It demonstrated exactly the kind of political judgment that Gove is talking about. Farage's response, "I never sell out my principles," showed political maturity that his critics rarely acknowledge. However, the timing of Gove's comments coincides with some concerning news for reform. Recent polling suggests that the party's momentum might be stalling. Conservative peer Robert Hayward has noted that reform support appears to have topped out, and their performance in recent council by-elections has been less than stellar. When you're defending seats and losing them, that's not the trajectory of a party heading for government. That's a trajectory of a party that might have peaked too early. The brutal mathematics of British politics are working against Farage as well. Going from where reform is now to forming a government in 2029 would require a political transformation so dramatic it would make Leicester City's Premier League win look like a foregone conclusion. They'd need to build a complete political infrastructure, develop detailed policy platforms, and recruit hundreds of credible candidates. As Gove pointedly notes, they simply don't have the team or the program to make this leap. What makes the situation even more fascinating is that Gove's assessment comes from someone who actually understands what governing requires. He's not some theoretical academic pontificating about politics from an ivory tower. He's someone who's been in the trenches of government, who's seen how policy gets made and implemented. When he says Farage isn't ready, he's speaking from the kind of practical experience that carries real weight. The comparison to Boris Johnson is particularly cutting. Gove acknowledges that both Johnson and Farage have an intuitive feel for public sentiment, but the implication is clear. Having good political instincts doesn't automatically translate to governing competence. Johnson's eventual downfall serves as a perfect case study in why communication skills alone aren't enough to sustain political leadership. For Farage, this presents an existential crisis. His entire political brand is built on being the outsider, the disruptor, the voice of the ignored and forgotten. But Gove's analysis suggests that being good at opposition doesn't necessarily make you ready for government. It's the political equivalent of being told you're great at complaining about the food, but wouldn't know how to run a kitchen. The implications extend far beyond Reform UK. Gove's comments reflect a broader truth about populist politics. It's much easier to tear things down than to build them up. Farage has spent decades perfecting the art of political destruction, but construction requires entirely different skills. It's like being a demolition expert who's suddenly asked to design and build a skyscraper. What's particularly clever about Gove's approach is how he's managed to praise and damn Farage simultaneously. By acknowledging his communication skills and political instincts, Gove avoids looking petty or dismissive. But by questioning his readiness for government, he plants seeds of doubt that could prove fatal to reform's broader ambitions. The political establishment has always struggled with how to handle Farage. Ignore him and he claims to be silenced. Attack him and he plays a victim. But Gove has found a third way. Treat him seriously enough to offer substantive criticism while making it clear that serious doesn't mean ready for prime time. As we head toward the next general election, Gove's assessment might prove prophetic. If reform's momentum really has stalled, if their support has indeed topped out, then Farage's window for transforming protest votes into governing power might be closing faster than a pub at last orders. And if that happens, Gove's withering assessment will be remembered as a moment when someone finally said what many in Westminster had been thinking but were too polite to voice. The question now is whether Farage will double down on his prime ministerial ambitions or step back to reconsider his political future. Because if Michael Gove's brutal honesty doesn't give him pause, then perhaps nothing will. Thanks for watching UK Pancakes. If this political drama got your blood pumping, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments whether you think Gove's assessment will force Farage to reconsider his future.